Hey guys, welcome. This is perfect. Okay, I'm just setting everything up. So welcome. This is the January 16th, 2024 edition of the group and coaching program. Depending on whenever you're catching it, I want to say welcome. And we are 3 weeks into 2024. What I want to sit with today is, what's working, what's not working. And of course, my phone's ringing. Life, keeping it real, right? Definitely shut that off now for after. Okay, so, we're 3 weeks in to 2024, and, there's so much we're going to talk about today with what's working and what's not working. And at the end of the day, it's about showing up for yourself. So thank you for joining me today, to everybody that's in my group. And for those that are curious, I am actually recording this episode. It's going to be podcast episode 171. And I share that because this is information we need to hear. And it doesn't matter when you land on it. It's still information that you need to hear. So if you're following along today, please comment, but I know most of you are going to be catching the recording. And don't be surprised if you see this up on social media shortly. And yes, it's exclusive to the Essentially You group, but I'm actually sharing it to attract more members. So if you're curious about how the group serves you, if you're curious about change, but most importantly, if you're curious about what it's like to show up for yourself, I want you to dig in and get comfortable and join the journey with us today. Again, I believe we're going to have a couple people live. We're just going to start with it and see how it goes. So thank you. From the bottom of my heart, I want to say thank you. And I want you to take this thank you not just for me, but as a thank you to you. So stop for a minute and thank yourself. Thank yourself for continuing to show up. It doesn't matter how. Remember, when we were younger, when we were in school, and I know I'm jumping right in here. You can tell I'm already fiddling with my hair. You know why? It's because this camera is reversed. It's reversed to what I'm naturally used to. And it's probably 100% accurate, but I'm not used to seeing the reverse image. So that's my why. I fiddle with my hair every time I am on a Facebook Live. Okay, so there's a couple of things when it comes to showing up for yourself. You see, first and foremost, our time and money are two commodities that we fight over our whole life in terms of energy, and they're two commodities that we can't really rush. We need to trust. Ultimately, if we're looking for growth and if we're looking for change, we need to be able to trust where we're at right here, right now when it comes to timing. So wiggle your toes for a second. This is not new for anybody that's been around for a while. Just stop and wiggle your toes for a second. Put that smile on your face. And hey, Marianne, thank you for joining us. Wiggle your toes, darling. That's where we're at. Wiggle your toes this morning, and thank goodness I can comment. I got out of jail. I got out of Facebook jail today. Woo-hoo! 14 days, guys. Marianne, I've shared with that. I made a disclosure that I am actually going to be putting this one up as a podcast, and as well on YouTube. So just FYI, since you are joining us live, I don't know if you caught that or not, but I wanted you to know. We're talking today about showing up. I'm not live on the podcast. I'm not live on YouTube, but I'll be recording it. But yes, you'll be able to re-listen however you want to. And we're talking about showing up for yourself. And we're talking about the fact that this is the third week into January. And where are you at right now? So I can guarantee you, after you ask yourself that question, there's a lot going on. So the first thing I want you to do, I want you to go back and do that again. Wiggle your toes. And I was sharing how this is not new. But when you wiggle your toes, one thing happens. You smile. You wiggle your toes and you smile. And that's going to bring you to exactly where I want you to be. Right here, right now, in the moment. I would like you to think the best of intentions as we go through today. So, let's go back to that question. How have you been showing up for yourself for the last 3 weeks? You see, it's not just a matter of a change of a date and all of a sudden we throw in these brand new routines and these brand new structures into our life. We've been trying over the last 3 weeks to blend things in, to segue all of our new habits and all of our new goals into our day-to-day life. And some people have been doing it with a coach, some people have been doing it on their own, and some people have been trying to do it and not sure what's going on. And life has been happening at the same time. Life doesn't pause when we stop and work on our goals. Normally, life expands because that's what's going to get us to expand. That's what's going to get us to get out of our comfort zone and into our growth zone, expansion. So expansion comes with following up on those commitments, right? Doing something different. How are you doing that? How are you practicing saying no and setting boundaries so you can do what you need to do? How do you practice rearranging your calendar or taking a step back or taking a time out right here, right now? Today we're going to talk about powerful ways to show up for yourself daily. We're also going to tap into saying no. Because when you say no to other people, you are saying yes to yourself. So my daughter, my eldest, she just called. She just turned 26 yesterday, and it was a great day. And she just called. Actually, Hudson called. I thought Megan was calling, and I was going to tease her for moving up a level. But Hudson called, and he wanted to come over. And I set a boundary. I said, you can come over between this time and this time, or you can come over after this time. And my daughter was like, great, I'll come over after this time. I never thought about setting a boundary like that before. It never crossed my mind. Or it crossed my mind, but I didn't implement it because I didn't know the consequences. And we're going to work on that today. Bill Cosby has said, I don't know the key to success, but the key to failure is trying to please everybody. And that looks different for everybody, right? That looks, when you think of that in a workplace, when you think of that in day-to-day life, it looks different for everybody. And it should look different to everybody. We're not living parallel lives here, my friends. But this is a small exercise that will improve your life. Learning how to say no. Learning how to set those boundaries. What do my notes look like? Understanding where you're at so you know your bandwidth. When you balance your bandwidth, just making my notes perfect here so I can look at them later. When you practice balancing your bandwidth and you find out what tips the scale in one direction or another, that changes things. And sometimes on that balancing scale, I move my hands like this, life brings us like this. Right? It really brings us to one level, like my whole body's moving. And then sometimes you get a little bit of this and you move the balance, you move the scales, and then sometimes it goes completely in the other direction, then the other direction, and then we're trying to balance that bandwidth, figure out what works each day in terms of time, energy, money. These are the major areas that have an impact. So when it comes to saying yes, those commitments go on your calendar. We talked about this a couple of episodes ago. And again, there is no right, wrong, or order in which you need to listen to this, but there is an episode I did about what's on your calendar. And everything on your calendar you have said yes to. Maybe balancing your bandwidth so you don't need to exclusively show up for yourself. Maybe balancing your bandwidth can be as simple as only having 3 activities on your calendar with everything else that you do. Or maybe you need to put them in a block of time so they look differently. Or maybe you're already doing them and you don't even realize it because there's so much going on and you're not stopping to give yourself the credit that you deserve. Because life happens like that. We get caught up. We get so caught up in the mountains in front of us and around us that we don't always see what we have literally right in front of us. And that's exactly why wiggling your toes is so important every once in a while. Stopping to please others and setting boundaries is hard. And you can easily beat yourself up on the fact that you are actually saying no. But when you say no, you are saying yes to yourself. Now, we've never been taught this. That we may have been taught this through personal development, but the majority of us going through life, we don't have these living, walking role models to teach us how to do this. This is where coaches come in. This is where, coaches work with coaches come into play, and we're learning what's working. We're learning what to implement. We're learning what works for us, but we can't stop at just taking the information and applying what somebody else is applying to it, right? That whole process is figuring it out for yourself, how to implement and how to make it work. So, focusing specifically on time and money. We can replace we can replace money, right? We can always earn more money, but we can never replace time. And that's the same thing with your health. You can never, ever, ever replace your health, right? You can do what you can to work on it better than ever, but it's one of those things, and the things is the wrong word for it, but let's just call it a thing. It's the only thing that means everything. When you're sick, what's the one thing that you want? The one thing. Marianne, if you're live, if you're able to, I'd love to have you comment your answer on here. The one thing you want when you're sick. What is it? And she might not be able to. So, I can tell you, the one thing when you're sick is you want to be healthy. You want your life to be back to normal. You want to do the things that you love to do, but what made you sick in the first place? Were you overwhelmed? Were you exhausted? Were you not balanced when it comes to balancing your bandwidth? Were you burning the candles at both ends? Oh, to freelance better. I can't quite read your answer. I'm going to have to see if I can move it over. Hang on a second. Nope, wrong button, and I don't want to stop anything. So your answer was to freelance better. So when you're sick, or maybe this is a different question. Okay, and to be more energetic, I believe is what Marianne said. To freelance better and to be more energetic. My comments are kicking. Now my comments have disappeared. Great. Okay, let's go back and do what I did a second ago. Keeping it real, guys. I don't know what I just did, but maybe if I grab my phone, I can see my comments on my phone, and I can follow along and answer that way. Let's go. There's always a creative point. All right, comments. Okay. I can follow along a little bit. I saw your comments now, Marianne. I just had to go differently to see it. Oh, that didn't work again. Okay. I'm going to have to reply to comments after, but keep them coming. If I could move this along, I would, but it just seems to be frozen for some reason when I'm doing the live, so I can't edit my screen a little bit. But to freelance better, to be more energetic, to feel better. Oh, that's what you meant to say, to feel better and to be more energetic. Yeah, when you're sick, that's what you want, right? You want to feel more better. You want to feel better. You want to be more energetic. Those are huge things. We don't plan a lot when we're sick. We really need to nurture ourselves. But what if, as you're creating your new life your way, you're able to nurture yourself and accomplish your dreams and your goals? That's what we're working on towards today. Learning to say no, learning to show up for yourself can show up in so many different ways. Sometimes it means showing up for it means, if your friends ask you to do something and you show up, you say yes, and you find out afterwards that you're mentally drained, you're physically exhausted, you are For lack of better words, you are so wiped out that you are on your couch for that night or longer when you get back. That is something that you should evaluate. That is something that you should stop and pause and think about your feelings. Now, not everybody likes to journal. This is a great opportunity to journal on your feelings if you're feeling like that when you come out from doing something. Like being with your friends or being in a social. This is a way of understanding, so you can now decide if next time this should be a yes or next time this should be a no. Or if you need to wait a little bit longer until you're feeling better before you do it again. So I've had to say no to my friends. It's hard. I have the right friends. They know at this point in my life that if we're saying no to something, like we're so open-minded that we can appreciate if we're saying no to something, it's a no. There's no pressure. What areas of your life are you getting that same similar no pressure? I just used bunny ears here, and I have to remember I am recording this and I will upload to my podcast later. So I did use bunny ears there because, again, that's different for everybody, and it's also different for the mood that you're in, and it's different for the circumstances going on with your life. Balancing your bandwidth is something that needs to be evaluated often because it's the only way you're going to show up for yourself. When it comes to saying no at the work, it takes a strong person to put your foot down in a working environment. The benefit to doing that is you're teaching them how to treat you, right? The benefit to saying no is you are learning your own boundaries. But when you are teaching other people how to treat you, and this is what happens at the workplace, it can be a game changer, 100%. The last thing you want is the thing that happens more often than not, and that's to be overwhelmed at work. When you're overwhelmed at work and you're putting 8 hours plus a day in someplace that makes you totally exhausted, you need to focus on doing your work to show up for yourself behind the scenes. You need to make yourself a priority when you're not there, right? Or find another job. But the problem isn't going to change if you just jump to a new job, because the minute things get hard, the minute things get overwhelmed, and you still don't know how to put yourself first, nothing's going to change. I've been saying this a lot lately, and this is a key one, but keep in mind, we do not grow from the same environment where we're at, right? In order to grow, in order to be somewhere different and to be in a different position, you need to grow into that. Especially at work, and I want to be mindful here, but with my choice of words, but when you're at work and you're picking up different hobbies or you're doing different tasks or you're helping people with different favors, you can feel very, very overwhelmed because you're taking on that responsibility. You're taking on that level of extra that you're not used to. So you got your personal life, you have your work life, we also have our family life where the same thing happens. Sometimes you need to drop everything and show up. This is what we have to do. Yesterday I had to rearrange my day, take my grandson to the hospital. My daughter was there. I did not realize how quick and easy and out kids are once they get triaged. It wasn't an infection. It might be an infection, but a broken arm, it's not. So we're totally fine. But I had to stop everything and do that, which meant I had to understand my bandwidth. There were other components of yesterday that had already drained me. Okay? Now, if you're working 9 to 5, if you're working 5 days a week, you might not have the opportunity to stop everything and to go. But as soon as you do, prioritize you. Even if it means saying no to other people. It could be your partner, you're saying, I'm sorry, I need a bath, a cup of tea, bottle of wine, wherever you're at in this stage. For some reason, wine's escaped me. All drinking has pretty much escaped me the last 9 months. Just not interested. I mean, I'll have a glass every once in a while, but just not interested. Even when the days are hard, I've been showing up for myself by not really going for that drink. And you don't think of it until you look back. But there are so many different ways that you can show up for yourself that you don't realize. We're going to talk about that. It took me a while in life to put my foot down, and I think I'm really just starting to notice the pattern. And you might want to give yourself an evaluation on a scale of 1 to 10. Where are you putting your foot down? Where are you setting those boundaries? So you can show up for yourself, which means keeping space between yourself and others. Again, something we've never been taught to do, right? We've been taught to serve. We've been taught to encourage. We've been taught to help. We've been taught to lead. We've been taught to educate. We've been taught all of these things, but have we been taught to pause so we can show up as a better version of ourselves, right? As soon as we're 18 or much, much younger, we're actually, taught to work and produce and promote and share and do. But how about being? We're human beings after all. We need time to be. And when we have time to be, everything can soak in when it comes to what's working and what's not working and how we can show up for ourselves. Marianne, I'm going to try to check your comments if you are sending any. I can't tell right now, but don't hesitate just because I can't see them. I am, like I said, I'm out of jail. Oh, there we go. I see your comment right there. So it is showing up on my phone. Thank you for that. She said we've been taught to be busy and not just be. And I completely agree. And it's not just that we've been taught that, but how many of us have taught our children the same thing? We've overscheduled them in stuff. And my children are growing up now, and they were not overscheduled. We had 1 or 2 activities each. But that's enough with 3 kids. I mean, it was dance and then sometimes swimming lessons. But you're right, Marianne, 100%. Society celebrates busy. But where are we at right now when it comes to a mental state? The last 3 or 4 years, would you say your mental state is stronger? What's different? We cannot survive in the hustle and bustle. We're not meant to be in flight or fight all the time. And I noticed the other day my body went into freeze. I'm 50 years old. I teach this. I share with you my examples. And Saturday night, we were sitting on the couch. We'd had some great conversations, Tony and I let my mind go to worst case scenario, and my body froze. I was numb. I do a good job of taking care of myself. Now, I know I am in recovery. I'm still healing with my head. I know there's a lot of things I'm doing, but there isn't. I'm still prioritizing rest. I'm still prioritizing journaling, meditations, affirmations, writing, getting outside. We can't do that right now. My schedule's off with that. But Pilates, I've been consistent with. We need to know what that boundary is. We need to know before we put our foot down so we don't explode, so we don't go into freeze mode. We need to know when enough is enough. And we can't do that when we're busy being busy, because being busy doesn't serve us. But again, we don't know that. We just know that what we're doing isn't working. We just realize that suddenly our bank account is crying, and we're crying, and the numbers on the scale are crying, and something got us off track, and we don't know what. And now we're beating ourselves up with 3 weeks into January, and nothing is falling into place the way we want it to be. So this year is different and better than last year. Shake it off. Shake it off. Shake it off. Come on. Shake it off. Move your energy. Stop right here, right now. Pause what you're listening to and shake that energy. This is where movement comes into play. Dancing. Shower. Put your favorite song on for 5 minutes. But wiggle your toes, wiggle your hips, wiggle your shoulders. Shake that off. Okay? I probably moved my laptop when I did that because that is magic. Shaking things off is magic. It is inviting your old energy to leave and your new energy to come in. You are releasing. There's so many other techniques. And again, we're going to tap into some strategies in a minute, but you need to learn to know when enough is enough. And this starts with awareness. And this starts with tapping into your feelings. And this absolutely begins with being. So you might not be a journaler, but I would encourage you to grab a book. Any kind of notepad book. It can be something like this. It can be anything. I had pages fixing this. I'll figure that out later. I'll figure that out later. it can be things like that. It can be anything for a book or a notepad, but I would like you to start to identify your feelings at the end of the day, your feelings in the morning. How do you feel on a scale of 1 to 10 throughout the week? Start taking your temperature and do this for yourself. And you're going to want to move up that needle. So you're going to want to learn to start to say, no, I'm sorry, I can't. Or I'm busy, or I'm unavailable, or how about this date? You know, if you really like the suggestion, change the date, change the venue. I had to move this from yesterday to today. I wasn't able to show up for anybody but myself yesterday. But I did the work. I did the breathing. I did the journaling. I have this going on all of a sudden because I know I could have done more work. Right? But I did talk it through and I did sit with it and I know this too shall pass. I know I am looking for signs for this too shall pass, but that's a progress, right? And I am willing to admit to everybody that progress is part of the experience. You know, it's not selfish at all for you to say no. It's not selfish at all for you to change things. You know, that comment of selfishness comes from people who just don't understand or have yet to admit to themselves that this too is going to happen to them, or it could happen to them, or it might happen to somebody they love. You know, our loved ones mimic what we do, and we don't realize it. So Megan's birthday is 20. She's 26. She was 26 on Sunday. And she knows I'm going through a few things right now. And she was looking at my makeup because the first thing the girls do when they come over is they come to the bedroom and they touch up their face, which is cool because, I mean, I have 3 girls, right? So it's kind of a fun thing. And Megan was like, Mama, all of your makeup is old and there's a few things here. She goes, but most of it you need some new stuff. I'm like, yeah, it needs to wait. It's not a priority right now. I'm like, I'm okay. Well, we're sitting around and talking and doing whatever, and we didn't have Hudson on Sunday, and so it was a lot more girly. And then I said to Megan, oh no, we went to paint ceramics, and then we came back to the house and Tony and I were making dinner. He was making a jambalaya and Megan was staying for dinner, and Megan's like, I just need to run out and get some errands. I'll come back. I'll be back for dinner. I'm like, okay, cool, like you're your own person, but thank you for letting us know. And she came back with a bag, a brown bag, stuffed and wrapped. And I said to her, what's going on? And she goes, this is for you. And she handed it to me. And in that bag was 5 or 6 new things for makeup, if you would. Face things, whether it was, so it was an eyeliner, lip liner, a powder, eyebrows, a couple of brushes, a sponge. Like, she gave me a gift on her birthday. And I didn't see it this way. I was so beautiful, I cried. I didn't expect this. This was just something. But my coach had said to me, and this is the fitting part, this is the part that we don't see when we're going through something. This is the magic where the coaches come in and the experience comes in and the shifts come in. When somebody can say to you, it's because of you she did that. And you're like, what? It's because of the way you raised her. It's because of the ethics that you taught her. It is because of you that she did that. And my heart filled with joy even more. See, we don't realize the impact we're making, and that's why it's so important to show up for yourself. That's why it's so important to understand that you might need those days guilt-free. You are leaving an impact wherever you go, and I don't want you to do things because you're leaving an impact. I want you to do things because it feels right. I want you to do things because it feels natural and light. So if it feels heavy, if you're not in alignment, your body's going to tell you. And your body's going to tell you by being overwhelmed or exhausted or done. So let's avoid that. Let's avoid all of that and just jump to the good stuff, right? TikTok used to say that. Let's jump to the good part. Okay, So let's talk about the good part. Marianne, do you have any questions before we go on to what's next? The good part, how to powerful ways to show up for yourself? If she does, I'll come back to it. So one of my favorite things about quarantine, believe it or not, was the surge for the upsurge for self-love. That's when I wrote my book. You're taking it all in, thank you. I'm going to do a selfish plug here, Marianne. I know you have this one. During quarantine, I wrote this book, and for those that can't see it, it's my Your Story Matters, a self-love and self-awareness workbook. I created that. That upsurge of self-love for many of us, with all of the changes that were going on, that's exactly what we needed. And how much self-love did we give to everybody else? And how much did we self-reflect? Many of us are comparing lives pre-quarantine to lives after quarantine, and the structures we've restricted ourselves to, or the way we wished we could have done things differently, or the what ifs. And today isn't about the quarantine conversation, but it's more in alignment with showing up for yourself. So we're no longer in a position after we had all of that time off where we want to be held back. We now know. We know what works. We know what serves us. Many of us know if we want to work from home, or we know for sure, or if we want to work in an office. I know I love working here. Yesterday I had an idea about being a walk-in coach, and I still might roll out that idea, but I'll do it here. I love having my own space. I love being my own boss. I love working from home. But when the moments happened and I had to work for somebody else, and I was grateful to be able to, I much prefer working from home. My mental health is better. This is a boundary that I established over COVID. I was flirting with it before COVID, but I knew for a fact during COVID and after COVID that being outdoors whenever I want to go take a break, being with Hannah or Gizmo when he was with us, having the things that make me feel safe and secure in my own home or in my own space, help me show up for myself. These things like candles or essential oils or music or even fairy lights, you can't even necessarily have at an office, and that might not work. So if I'm spending 8 hours, 9 hours in an environment that doesn't serve me, I will not survive. I won't. I fail quickly. I'll be completely honest. And maybe you do too. Maybe you thrive. Okay? But what we did establish during that period of time is that we don't want to be held back any longer. That life is too short for that. But we also learn that we have a lot of healing and unlearning to do. And showing up for yourself is part of the learning, the unlearning, and then the learning that we need to do. Because most of us have lived a life of complacency up until, do I want to say COVID? Yeah, maybe right around COVID, I lived a life, I wouldn't think of complacency, but in comparison to what I've accomplished since then, this book, my planner, my Getting Started guide, 5 chapters and 5 other books, my podcasts. I just recorded podcast number 200 earlier today. Now, this one's going to be posted before that one, but wow, never expected this. Had a grandson, and I'm very involved with my family's life, all of it, and I've gone through the ups and downs emotionally, and then I have the health crisis that I'm having now. So I understand. The health crisis has led to a financial crisis, has led to a other crisis that I'm not getting into on here. So there are compound effects, and and I could stop and think about what could I have done differently for my head, for my health, and perhaps nothing, but it doesn't stop me from thinking like that. As a result of what we've gone through, most of us are beginning to do the inner work to protect our peace and to reach our full potential. And you see this more and more now. It begins with loving ourselves first. My day starts with, first thing, bathroom. Even brushing my teeth. First thing when I get up in the morning, I go to the bathroom and brush my teeth. I know people that don't brush their teeth until after their coffee or their breakfast. I do it for me. I dress for me. You've heard me talk about that. But I meditate right away. First thing in the morning, I meditate. It feels great. I meditate. then I reflect on my meditation. So my first 15 minutes of my day are dedicated to myself. That's new. That's only the last couple of years new. This is a practice, guys. Our life is a practice every single day. And this is where I'm talking about the temperature check. We now know what it's like to put ourselves first. We've learned this over the course of the last 4 years, wherever you're landing here. So I'm going to share with you some daily things I've worked on that might help you when it comes to showing up for yourself. One of the best ways is to be disciplined and consistent about your goals. Whether it's working out, saving money, pursuing a passion, starting something new, you have to love yourself enough to commit to your future. So I am right now part of a 28 days Pilates challenge. Today is day 16 of the month, but day 15 for me for Pilates because I took a day off. I decided to take a day off today too. It's a Pilates challenge. It's okay for me to rest my muscles. As a personal trainer, I know it's not going to hurt me to rest my muscles. It's not going to hurt me to do this challenge and be done 2 days later. I'm not in it with anybody. I mean, if I am, maybe a different story, but there's nothing wrong with that. You need to extend or bring in what works for you. Maybe sitting in limbo for 9 months doesn't work for you. It doesn't work for me, and my journey's not done where I'm at right now. But I'm finding ways to enjoy it. I'm finding ways to commit to myself and finding other goals to focus on. Because committing to your future is easier said than done. Oh, there we go, my computer. Yeah, especially if you struggle with commitments to yourself, right? And most of us do. So it can be easy. I'm going to share with you, sometimes distractions lead to discouragement, and that means falling into a slump. When you let yourself know that this might happen, it changes the dialogue. You can extend the days. You can extend what you do on certain days. Because that slump can make you feel like a failure, and it can make you feel like you're wasting time, and it can make you feel heavy. But worst of all, it can make you feel like your own worst enemy. Yeah. Marianne just agreed. She said it's easier said than done when it comes to herself. And that whole process of the result of coming into a slum. You try, things didn't go as planned, you weren't as productive, you got distracted, you got discouraged, and then you fell into a slump. And then you're thinking worst case scenario, and months pass or weeks pass, and your list gets longer and longer, and you get overwhelmed. And then you feel like you haven't made any progress to the promises that you've made to yourself. And then you feel like a failure, and that you've wasted your time, and that you're not good enough. And when you realize that you are your worst enemy, there is something you can do about it. Again, that's the awareness. Awareness happens in the space of being. So, to avoid this space of regret and falling behind, commit to putting yourself ahead of the game. And this could mean waking up early to work on your business, committing to a daily routine, time blocking your days and coming up with fun names for them. And I'm going to circle back to that, maybe not today, because I think today we might be extending our time a little bit longer. I'm not sure if I'm going to go over all of these with you or if I'm going to post them up as show notes, but we'll see where the time is at. Working out every day. Saying no to junk food and making healthier choices because of the side effect. Because after 2 or 3 days, you're going to have more energy, you're going to sleep better, not necessarily to lose weight. Say no to spending money on unnecessary things. Yeah. The success we're looking for can be found in the work that we're avoiding. So what are you avoiding? And maybe it is as simple as choosing different healthy foods. Maybe it is going through your receipts and getting set up for accounting season. Maybe it is reviewing your planner and your calendar. And if you need help with these things, I'm right here, guys. Just reach out. You can find the link in my bio, my link tree I put in here. Plenty of assessments and quizzes you can start with, or just simply book a time in my calendar and we'll have a chat. But being consistent with the creative passion is one way when it comes to committing to yourself that you will grow. And we don't see this, but this is where the thinking part comes, because it's a lot like wiggling your toes, where you put yourself in that moment. You see, it's consistency and effort that we begin to see towards the results that we want that bring us joy and happiness. And it's through that process when we realize what we're capable of. You know, I can say for sure God is removing a lot of things in my life right now that doesn't serve me. As hard as it is, I know that's what's going on. And I am being shown where I am holding myself back. And I am being shown what I am capable of. Doesn't mean I want to live this life every single day, but I am learning from the experience and I am practicing what it takes to make tomorrow easier. And that is one of the steps. You see, the more self-disciplined you are, the stronger you become, and the more confident and successful you'll be in the future. And this is why we talked about habit trackers on one of our very first sessions. Take yourself seriously. That's the second point. Speaking of confidence, you know, one of my biggest downfalls has always been a lack in my own abilities. And until recently, that has changed. Until I really became a fitness trainer, that has changed. When I saw my body reshape before I got into the business, when I learned what I was capable of, and I was in my mid-30s running a winter race, I did a 50K in 25 minutes in a snowstorm. 2 years before that, never running before in my life, or even 1 year before that. I was able to show myself what I was capable of. I have hardware hanging around the house for something that I never thought I could do. I've written books. I've survived 2 divorces. You need to take yourself seriously, because your downfalls can hold you back if you let them. And your downfalls can remind you that you're not good enough, and that your ability isn't worth it because it's not enough, and that you don't have what it takes. When you're doing this journey, you need to take yourself seriously. You really, really do. Your skills, perspectives, and abilities are what make you you. They're not dumb, obvious, or unattainable. If you can dream it, you can do it. You know, right now I realized in my personal life that one door may have closed. This might not be the path. I thought this path was going to be the path, and this might not be the path to take to get to where I want to be. It doesn't mean a new path isn't going to appear. It doesn't mean it's not going to happen. But I had to have my moment. I had to sit there and feel all my feelings and be okay with it without the self-judgment so I can get to that point. And that's what I encourage you to do too. Because whether it be in school, in work, or when you're pursuing your dreams, believing in yourself enough to be unapologetic about who you are is a game changer. Let it shape you. Let it help you move through the world and allow yourself to take up as much space as you need. People don't do that. People don't take up as much space as they want. And for those that have been following me for a while, it doesn't matter if it's my podcast or my lives, you'll hear me say like, welcome, 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 full of energy and excitement. And that's just because it's fun for me. I don't mind taking up space when I'm in a good place. You know, this can also look like taking on leadership positions, voicing your perspectives and arguments out loud, sharing your voice, taking authority over a specific subject, pursuing a passion can fall into this space as well. And when you don't take yourself seriously, you don't do your best, and you lose out on opportunities to learn and grow. And we all know what happens when you stop learning and growing. You start dying. You start dying quick. But when you do show up as you are and believe you deserve it, others believe it too. They do. They believe it to their core, and they might believe it before you believe it, and that's okay. Oh, this is my hardest one, but I had to share. Speak up for yourself. You know, we've all at some point second-guessed our own emotions, especially if you're an emotional person. It may be because people have asked us or commented They've asked us not to be so emotional, or they've commented, "Oh, you're so emotional." Well, they're not us. They're, we were made this way for purpose. Or maybe people have commented that, we shy back, we hide back those emotions because we fear confrontation or being overbearing or looking stupid. These are all heavy things. There's been so many times where I've been gaslit into feeling like I'm overreacting and that my emotions were not validated. Everything I share on here, guys, I've gone through myself. I share a lot of my personal stories so you can relate. So I'm not just making things up out of thin air. These are all, most of them are my own stories that I share. Some of them are clients with authority or with permissions, but I've walked the walk. I can understand how certain emotions can be triggered for a reason. It doesn't mean you have to blow up because someone's, you don't have to blow up someone's truck or someone's house or, someone's profile on social because you're upstrated or upstrated or frustrated or upset. Frustrated or upset. Let's try that again. You don't need to go and blow something up because you are frustrated or upset. But don't be afraid to speak up about it. The things that are bothering you may seem unconventional, and they may not even be a bother to somebody else. But when you voice it, something can be done. Don't be afraid to speak up about the things that are bothering you. That's big. It's so big. It means voicing your perspectives. In professional situations, defending yourself in personal ones. I'm going to say that again. When speaking up for yourself, it means voicing your perspective in a personal situation and defending yourself in personal ones. How many times do you step back and feel small when it comes to either personal or professional situations because they're your boss or you don't want to speak your truth? You're never wrong for feeling the things that you feel. And your perspective might offer more insight than what you realize. If you've misunderstood something, speaking up at least gives you the space to learn and grow. But if you don't, you're only risking your own self-worth and what makes you comfortable. You're staying in that space. You're not growing. Loving yourself enough to make your beliefs, ideas, and emotions a big deal, because it's through speaking up that you get what you want and the acknowledgement that you desire. Okay, I shared 2 of the tips. Okay? 3. Speaking up for yourself, taking yourself seriously, and committing to yourself. I will put the rest of them in a post in the Essentially You group. And what I'll do is I'll probably create a blog post on this and then make sure you can all see the links and share it. So, Marianne, if you're with us live, as we sum this up when it comes to showing up for yourself, and what is your biggest takeaway so far? We've got about 10 minutes for Q&A, and I'm definitely here. I can see your questions, and I'm definitely here to answer them. And like I said, there's a few more I want to share, and maybe I'm looking forward to doing that. I just want to give you space to take this all in because there's a lot we went over today when it came to showing up for yourself. And as I'm waiting for Marianne to type again, if she's available, she might not be, remember that this applies to so many areas of your life. You can be a teenager, you can be a grandma, you can be an entrepreneur, you can be an employee. All of these comments, making a commitment to yourself, showing up for yourself, realizing about loving yourself first, taking yourself seriously, and speaking up for yourself are the small things that you can do day in and day out to make a difference. Yeah, darling, it is hard work sometimes. You know why it's hard work? It's new. So my recommendation for the hard work is let's create a plan and let's start with small steps and habit stacking. So when something is hard, the number one thing we want to do is ask ourselves, how can we make this easy? Because we step away from hard. So remember when you're getting that book and you're going to start like a 1 to 10, even if you have your own journal here. And when you're rating yourself a 1 to 10, how do you feel today? I also want you to ask yourself, what would make this easier? 2 questions. Okay? I'm going to write that down. Question number 1 that you want to do is you want to give yourself a daily rating. Daily feeling rating. 1 to 10. Where do you land? Okay? No judgment. Do it for a couple weeks. Do it for a month. No judgment. The second thing I want you to think about, how to make this easy. This easier. Sorry. Because it might not be easy today. How can you make today easier? How can you make this easier today? Okay, so Marianne brought up a couple of points that I do want to talk about before we sign off today. And Marianne, if there's anything else, just stick them in here and I'll review them and then we'll go from there. But these 2 that you brought up are very important. We hold fear sometimes for putting ourselves first, and of course we do. Of course we do. And I'm not going to go over the examples. We know them. It's because, first of all, when we feel like we're not good enough at something, we don't practice it until we are good enough. We don't, unless we like it. So if we like pool, but we're not good at it, we're going to practice it until we are good at it. How often do you put yourself in vulnerable positions where you can get good enough at hearing the feedback? That's the first thing. And that's where different committees, different situations, putting yourself in environments that you're passionate about, and then you end up feeling safe about it because ultimately you're not the only one. They're just afraid to speak their voice. That's where practice comes into play, and I suggest that you don't start there. But yes, of course you're going to feel the fear. Feel the fear and do it anyways. Take that step because that fear, that bubble will always be there until you penetrate it, until you push through it. And this one is huge. I guarantee it's going to happen, and it's happening for a reason. So Marianne mentioned because sometimes we lose people along the way. I lost a good friend this year. Not physically lost, but I mean, we're no longer friends. I'm guessing here, but I'm pretty sure the analogy was I didn't spend enough time with her. She lives 4 hours away, and whenever I could, I would show up or give her time, but it wasn't, and we would hop on the call a couple times. It just wasn't working in this season of our lives. I could only give what I could. If it wasn't serving her, she can do what she wants. And of course, you're going to lose friends along the way. When I moved, I lost almost all my friends. I let them go. They were not serving me. What I mean by that is they didn't lift me up. So people come into your life for a season, a reason, or a lifetime. But you are the one showing up every day doing the work. Of course, those people are going to filter through a little bit differently when you're showing up for yourself. So, I've been saying certain words all day and I've been mindful of it. So it's like I'll flip that script next time. But for now, I'm just going with it. Think about this. We are the sum of the 5 people we are around the most. So who are the 5 people in your world that you hang out with the most? From there, realize that every 6 months, one of those people is going to drop and be replaced. It's not those same 5 people forever and ever and ever. I mean, it could be your family. If there's 5 people in your family and you see them every day, well, then it might be. But logically, in most cases, one person drops off every 6 months and it changes. That's meant to happen. That's meant to happen so somebody else can enter your life and give you the space and the attention that you deserve, because that's no longer serving you. It will be let go and a new one will come in. And that new one's going to be different than anything you've ever imagined. This whole life is going to turn out so much different than you've ever ever imagined. All right, I am summing this up today. I spoke for almost an hour, and I did a podcast interview this morning. So this is going to be, there will be show notes, there will be links, it will be up on YouTube. This will end up being episode 171 that I'm doing today. It's one of my solo episodes. And, but like I said, I recorded episode 200 earlier today. That is something to hold on to. That is exciting. And I will be posting 171 sometime this week or next. You can circle back and listen to it whenever you want and let me know what questions you have. In the meantime, for anybody listening in the Essential You group, if you're not catching this live, please go ahead and put replay so I know that you've caught it. And I will get those resources all wrapped up, put together nicely, and this should give you something to think about. Again, if you don't journal, that's okay. Just let the information soak in, okay? I love you lots, guys. I am here to support you on your journey to health and happiness, helping you keep your promises to yourself and make all of your dreams and desires come true, because you're so worth it, no matter what comes your way in life. Thank you for being you.